Whiskerwood Woodpeckers, Adventures in Chaos. Deep within the emerald heart of Whiskerwood Forest, where sunlight dappled through ancient oaks and whispers carried on the breeze, lived a most peculiar group of creatures known as the Whiskerwood Woodpeckers. Despite their name, not a single one was actually a woodpecker. Percy the squirrel possessed an uncanny gift for mimicry, able to replicate any sound from a babbling brook to a thunderstorm with startling accuracy. Bessie the turtle defied all conventional turtle behavior by walking exclusively on her front legs like a circus performer. And Charlie, the possum, boasted the most extraordinary nose in the forest, able to detect scents from remarkable distances, sometimes to his own detriment. The trio shared little in common, except their tendency to cause accidental chaos wherever they went. Yet, they had formed an inseparable bond built on mishaps and misadventures. One misty morning, as dawn stretched its golden fingers across the forest floor, a distressed rabbit burst into the hollow tree where Percy was practicing his morning symphony of forest sounds. The river, the rabbit gasped. It's turned brown and foul. No one can drink from it. News spread quickly through the forest. The central water source, a crystal-clear river that meandered through Whiskerwood, had become contaminated overnight. Animals gathered in anxious clusters, whispering about thirst and worried about survival. "We should investigate," announced Percy, his tail twitching with excitement at the prospect of a new adventure. "I suppose someone must," sighed Bessie, who had been enjoying a particularly pleasant sunbath on a warm rock. Charlie simply nodded, his sensitive nose already twitching with anticipation of the smells awaiting them. Before setting out, Percy insisted they recruit one more member to their expedition, Millicent the owl, whose wisdom was as sharp as her talons and whose aerial perspective would prove invaluable. With a few well-mimicked hoots, Percy summoned the dignified owl from her daytime slumber. "This had better be important," Millicent grumbled, adjusting her feathers with practiced precision. "The river's contaminated," Charlie explained, his nose wrinkling at the mere thought of the putrid water. "Well then," Millicent said, suddenly alert, "we haven't a moment to waste." The unlikely quartet set off immediately. Percy led the way, chattering excitedly about potential causes of the contamination. "Perhaps it's a monster, or a strange chemical from the human world. Or maybe, perhaps," interrupted Millicent gently, "we should first observe the problem before jumping to conclusions." As they approached the river, Charlie's nose began to twitch violently. "Something's definitely off," he mumbled, sneezing twice in rapid succession. "Smells like mud and wood and something else." The once pristine river now flowed thick and brown, carrying debris and silt. Small fish darted frantically in the murky depths, clearly distressed by their changed environment. "We need to find the source," Bessie declared, rising onto her front legs to get a better view. "It must be coming from upstream." The group trekked alongside the river, moving against its current. Percy attempted to entertain his companions with imitations of their footsteps, creating a peculiar echo effect that quickly grew tiresome. "Perhaps a bit of quiet would help us concentrate," suggested Millicent, after Percy's third rendition of Bessie walking through mud. Hours into their journey, Charlie suddenly froze, his nose quivering wildly. "I smell beavers," he exclaimed, "and fresh-cut wood, and something broken." Just around the next bend, they discovered the source of the problem. A beaver dam had partially collapsed, sending mud, sticks, and debris downstream. The beavers were nowhere to be seen. "They must have abandoned it after the collapse," Millicent observed, circling overhead. "The dam needs repair," Bessie stated the obvious, examining the structure with her head tilted sideways. Percy bounced excitedly. "I can call the beavers back. I know exactly what they sound like." Before anyone could stop him, Percy began emitting a series of elaborate chirps, whistles, and slaps that echoed through the forest. The others watched in anticipation, which quickly turned to confusion as a large male beaver emerged from the underbrush, looking decidedly romantic. The beaver approached Percy with unmistakable interest, making soft cooing sounds. Percy?" Charlie whispered. "I think you're speaking beaver for hello, handsome. I'm available." Percy's eyes widened in horror as he realized his mistake. He frantically changed his calls, but this only seemed to convince the love-struck beaver that Percy was playing hard to get. "Distract him," Bessie hissed, already making her way toward the dam on her front legs. "Charlie and I will try to fix the structure." While Percy reluctantly continued his unintentional flirtation with the increasingly passionate beaver, Bessie and Charlie attempted emergency repairs. Charlie's sensitive nose proved problematic as he sneezed repeatedly from the mud and debris, sending carefully placed sticks flying with each explosive coup. Bessie, meanwhile, discovered that walking on front legs was not ideal for construction work. She toppled repeatedly, once landing shell down and flailing like an overturned table. From her aerial viewpoint, Millicent watched the calamity unfold with growing exasperation. The beaver was now presenting Percy with a freshly cut twig, a traditional beaver courtship gift. Charlie's sneezing had created more holes than repairs, and Bessie had somehow managed to get her head stuck in a small gap in the dam. "Enough!" Millicent finally hooted, swooping down to restore order. "Percy, cease that mating call immediately. Charlie, please step back from the dam before you demolish it entirely. Bessie, just hold still while I help you." With calm authority, Millicent reorganized their efforts. She instructed Percy to imitate the sound of beaver kits in distress, a sound that transformed the romantic beaver into a concerned potential parent who immediately began helping with repairs. Charlie was positioned downwind to prevent sneezing fits, where his sensitive nose proved useful in locating optimal mud consistency for dam repairs. Bessie, once freed, utilized her unusual walking style to pack mud into difficult-to-reach crevices. As sunset painted the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, the dam stood repaired and reinforced. The beaver, apparently having forgotten his romantic interests in the face of constructive work, gave Percy an appreciative nod before slipping back into the forest. The water should clear by morning, Millicent assured them, as they watched the flow already beginning to settle. Exhausted but triumphant, the Whiskerwood Woodpeckers returned home, leaving behind a restored dam and a gradually clearing river. Word of their success spread quickly through the forest, transforming the troublemaking trio and their wise owl friend into unexpected heroes. In the days that followed, forest residents sought out the woodpeckers for other problems. A family of rabbits with a collapsed burrow, a young deer caught in thorny bushes, and even a territorial dispute between two squirrel families that Percy solved with diplomatic, if somewhat exaggerated, message delivery between parties. Each mission inevitably involved some degree of chaos, Percy's impersonations causing confusion, Bessie's unusual locomotion creating complications, and Charlie's sensitive nose leading to both discoveries and disasters. Yet somehow, with Millicent's guidance and their combined determination, they always managed to succeed despite themselves. As weeks passed, the Whiskerwood Woodpeckers became the forest's beloved problem solvers. They never quite mastered the art of smooth operation, but the residents of Whiskerwood Forest came to appreciate not just their help, but the entertaining spectacle of their methods. Perhaps most importantly, Percy, Bessie, Charlie, and Millicent discovered that their peculiarities, once sources of isolation, had become their greatest strengths when combined in friendship. They learned that teamwork didn't require perfection, just persistence and patience with one another's quirks. And so, under the ancient canopy of Whiskerwood Forest, life continued with its usual challenges and changes. But now, whenever trouble arose, hopeful eyes turned to the mismatched quartet of problem solvers who brought as much chaos as they did solutions, reminding everyone that sometimes the most unusual combinations create the strongest bonds. The Whiskerwood Woodpeckers had found their purpose, not in spite of their oddities, but because of them. And now,